G'day guys, my name's Ben. I'm Ben Hamilton. I'm from Australia. I live in a place called Ballina, which is in New South Wales. It's near Byron Bay. Um, Mental health is something that's well, for me personally, it hits very close to home. I've had my struggles with mental health throughout my whole life. I've been diagnosed with PTSD in 2016. As well as anxiety disorder as well. I think I had anxiety from a very young age. I think a lot of people do, but it just goes undiagnosed. Men's mental health is really important to me because, I don't think it doesn't matter wherever you are in the world. It's changing now which is great, but as a kid growing up, I didn't really see men talk about their mental health. I didn't see my dad talk about his mental health or his dad. It was more or less just, you'll be okay, toughen up, you'll be okay. But that's slowly starting to shift now, which is really good because people need to, especially men, and especially young men, need to realise that it's okay to not be okay and to speak about what they're struggling with. As I said, was diagnosed with PTSD in 2016, and I'd struggled with anxiety through most of my childhood and my teens, and I've also struggled with addiction as well, with the gambling addiction. And I think a big part of the driver for the addiction was the issues I had with my anxiety and needing to be hyperstimulated as well, which I haven't been diagnosed with adult ADD, but I reckon I've had long conversations with my psychologist about it, and it seems to me like I probably have something like that because I always need to kind of be hyperstimulated. So, yeah, the main message I want to put out there is if you're a man of any age, even a young man, and you're struggling, reach out and talk to someone. The best thing you can do is talk to someone. It can be anyone. It can be someone on the street. I can give you an example. I was at the park with my son on the weekend, and a bloke come up to me, and we were just talking, and he was a landscaper. I'm a tiler, both tradies, both blokes, and he ended up really confiding in me in a lot of different things because he just needed someone to talk to, and I recognised that pretty well straight away. And it was a really positive conversation for him, but for me too. So if you need help, talk to someone. There's no shame in talking to someone. There's no shame in telling people your struggles or what you're struggling with. It's better out than in. And if you do hold on to it, things don't get better. So the best thing you can do is reach out to a mate or someone in your family, someone you trust. And if you do feel like you're really struggling with something like acute or something that's just sort of not going away, go see a psychologist, go see a counsellor, go see someone, a professional, a GP or whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. I've been seeing a psychologist for, since basically 2015, 2016, and I still see my psychologist who I've, been engaged with for the better part of 2.5 years. I still see her every fortnight, and that's not because I'm unwell. It's because it's just healthy for me to go there and do that, and it gives me a place where I can go, sit down, and just have a really good debrief. Can be completely transparent, even if I'm having weird thoughts or whatever, and I can go there and let it out and leave and feel a lot better for it. So, yeah, I'd encourage everyone to do that. And for any of the younger men that are watching this, like, it's not tough to struggle on your own and isolate yourself from the world. It's not tough to find yourself at the end of the bottle every day, or get paid and blow your wage through gambling or drinking or drugs. It's not a masculine thing to do. But one of the hardest things that you can ever do is be honest and vulnerable about what you're struggling with. And If you don't believe me, look up a guy named David Goggins. He's a man who's done a lot and has done a lot of stuff that is very, exceptionally. The guy's exceptional, but he said the hardest thing he's ever done is to be honest and accountable with the book that he did, because he had to open up his world to everyone for them to look at. And this is a guy that ran 100 miles with broken feet. So you can kind of tell the kind of person he is. But if that person, hardest thing he's ever done is that, to be honest and open about it, that just shows how hard it really is. But when you do that, there's a sense of freedom in being honest and being vulnerable. There's nothing wrong with that. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel shit. I can't stress it enough. Like, I live that now. I mean, just through my own journey with my gambling addiction, but suicide attempts as well. And now I'm just completely honest and completely accountable all the time. And, in my own personal life, like I said, I'd see my psychologist every 2 weeks. I mean, I hadn't seen her. I went about 4 weeks without seeing her this time, because she had stuff on with her personal stuff, and then I had a lot of stuff on as well. It's the busiest time of year for me, but I felt the following 2 weeks was a little bit different for me, because I didn't have that sort of support. And I'm someone that probably needs that kind of support for maybe not the rest of my life, but now I definitely do. I mean, I'm coming up to 1 year completely free of my gambling addiction. The organisation my wife and I started, Kicking the Punt, is doing really well and helping a lot of people, and that's all centred around support and supporting one another. So, and encouraging people to be honest. So it's all relative. You don't have to have an addiction to go and seek support. You just might not be feeling right in your mind or in your heart. You go and talk to someone about it. I can't stress that enough. If you keep it within yourself, nothing will change. If you talk to someone about it, things will start to change. I think that a lot of families that are broken have a huge sort of impact in how a young man will grow up and how he will turn out. And there's a lot of troubled youth, especially in Australia, that, coming from broken families and not having, the father figure in their life to sort of show them what's, not so much what's right and wrong, but how to be a man, I suppose. I mean, me personally, with my childhood, like, I grew up with my mum and dad separated when I was very young, about 1.5, and then my stepdad was on the scene from about 2. And I mean, I don't speak to my mum or my stepdad anymore for personal reasons, which I won't touch on. But in saying that, like, for the better part of my childhood, I feel like they both tried, in some ways tried as best as they could. And I felt like my stepdad did instill in me some good qualities, for sure, about how to be a man and what what's right and wrong, but what's morally right and wrong. I always maintained a relationship with my biological father, and we're good mates now. We're more mates than sort of father and son. But being a father now, and my little boy's 3, like, my wife and I have had huge struggles in our marriage because of my gambling, and it's tore us to the brink numerous times. But the main thing that's kept us together is we've both come from families that have had issues with separation and a whole other suite of things. And one of our biggest things that has kept us together is to have that. So my little boy, Augie, has mum and dad, and he understands. It can be mum and mum, or it can be dad and dad. I'm not saying that it has to be a mum and dad, but he has 2 parents that absolutely adore him and will give him every possibility that he can to succeed in his life, and know what's morally right and what's morally wrong. I think that's really important. And that's what I try and instill in him every day. And I think there's a lot of young men out there that just they don't have that, and they yearn for that, but they never get it, and it's a tragedy, and they end up just becoming troubled and not really knowing what to do in their life, and they fall into the wrong thing, and then it's really hard. Like they might fall into an addiction, or might fall into crime, or they might even just fall into just not wanting to achieve anything, and it's really sad. So I mean, I think even though 50s, 60s, the divorce rate was a lot lower, and they had their own sort of issues with the tough love kind of mentality, but at least they had two parents. At this day and age, I mean, a lot of people are separating and or having children and not really understanding. I mean, I don't think anyone can understand about having children and what that entails, but my wife and I, we pride ourselves on being good parents and good role models to our son, and we're very cognizant of what kind of legacy I want to leave behind for my son. And that was a big reason why I chose to change my life and to confront my demons and to own my shit and to be proactive about my mental health. I think anyone at any point in their life will have struggle with a mental health issue, and especially men. So if we can raise awareness around men's mental health and showing them that it's not weak to speak, I think will go a long way into helping those younger men who are from broken homes and showing them that yes, their life's been hard and they've been dealt a shit hand, but they still can make something of their life and they can have their own family one day. They don't. For me, my family, not my son and my wife, but my family isn't my be all end all. And my family that I've got now, which is my little boy and my wife, that's my be all end all. And I now realise that. And I didn't realise that for a long time because I come from a family that was a bit different. But I'm okay with that now, and I'll continue to advocate for not only men's mental health, but just mental health in general. And I think we're in a good point in our existence as human beings to really start acknowledging this now, and I think we're at a point now where a lot of people have spoken about it, but it's time to just nip this in the butt and really crack down on, all these people that are just falling through the cracks, because it doesn't need to happen. Like the suicide rate for men is the leading cause of death pretty much everywhere in the world. I know it is for Australia, and I know it is for in the UK. And that's, to me, is just not acceptable. And I've attempted suicide, and I know what that feels like when you feel like that's your only option, but it's not. And I know that now, but I didn't know that back then. And that's not because I wasn't supported either. I just chose to not be honest and acknowledge it and own my shit. But if you are struggling, just reach out to someone and talk to someone, and your whole world will change.